Sound can enrich and diversify our understandings of the world around us. The world has so much context when we associate the details in it with the meal that is our lives. This week, join me, Zach Walsh, as I talk with Christian about his project, MySoundDelve, an app to enhance the flavor of your tabletop games. We talk audio mixing, working with others, and the tabletop community at large. Welcome to Schedule for Launch, a podcast to discover projects you may have missed. This week, I am joined with a very cool guest here, Christian Bourget, and we're going to be talking about MySoundDelve. I'm super pumped for this. I've actually looked at it a little bit, so thank you for joining us, Christian.
I appreciate being here, and thanks for having me.
Like I said, this is a really cool app. I really like it. The sound quality is incredible. But before we get into what MySoundDelve is and why I'm talking about sound, can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Sure, absolutely. So I live in central New York and middle-aged. I have a day job in which I sell healthcare solutions to businesses so that they can resell them. I've been in that industry since 1998. Most of my career, I have either consulted, sold, or done operations, all in healthcare, all on the business side, and traveled through most of that career. So COVID was a big shock to me, but it did ground me in a good way in the sense that it allowed me some creativity, time, and bonding with my family. So I like to take long walks in the woods. I like to camp. I'm involved actively in our scouting program. I teach religious ed on Sunday mornings. And yeah, I miss traveling.
Oh, well, you know what? You're kind of like the target person for this then, because as listeners of this will know, this is an entire podcast to feature things that people kind of started up when they didn't know what else to do during all this.
Hmm. Well, it's funny you say that. I actually had the MySoundDelve domain name reserved. I've been paying for it since 2011. So I've been
Oh,
sitting,
wow.
yeah, I've been sitting on this golden egg for a long time. Honestly, actually waiting for somebody else to create something similar. Sirenscape came
Okay.
to the scene. There's a few other apps that are out there, but nothing hit the mark. And so it was an itch that needed to be scratched personally, and for
Mm-hmm.
those creators that are listening, know exactly what I'm talking about. And finally, I was
Oh,
able
yeah.
to pull the trigger, and this is a totally independent project. So yeah, I thought about kickstarting, but nobody wants to support an app by Kickstarter. It's not tangible enough.
Yeah, it's a little bit, I wonder why. But you know what? What exactly is MySoundDelve?
Oh, sure, I appreciate that. So my SoundHelp is a mobile app, both Android and iOS, and it adds a sound element to the tabletop. And the way our approach to sounds is because there are sound effect apps out there, like I mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Our take on it is I wanted something similar to a die roll, where you've got an action. I'm running up to something, I'm doing something, or I'm casting a spell. So the verbal component would be part of that spell, or right, I'm taking my sword out, or I'm doing my 5 foot step, or whatever. So there's an action coming into it. Then there's a die roll, and then what is the result? Typically in TTRPG, you're going to have a success, you're going to have a failure, you're going to have a critical success or a critical failure. So I just wanted to put a sound to all 5 pieces of that with an interface to make that a reality. So it's kind of like a puzzle. And so we've got like 2,000 sounds, fantasy and science fiction, and
Yeah.
they and they run in our gallery. We've got them currently broken down into all sounds, weapons, both melee, ranged, spells, Druid, Arcane, and Divine. Critical and Fumble is one category. Foley,
Yep.
which is like a snippet of ambient sound. It's also my catch-all. It's where I put like all my skill checks and the sounds for that, like trapdoors
All
and those
right.
kinds of
Yeah, that
things.
makes sense.
And then finally phrases, because everybody loves phrases. And let me just pull up a real fun one here. So,
Oh, please, because I love
sure.
the quality of these. I do. I love them.
Yeah. Oh, this is a good one.
I'm gonna conjure all kinds of crap on you.
Right. So that's a voice actress. We partnered up last fall with the Voice Sphere, run by Lauren Singer, and
Okay.
she brought together a band of people who are familiar with TTRPG. A lot of them are in video games. Lauren herself has been in a number of Dungeons and Dragons video games, and she helped me put this group together, and we just kind of ran through. So I've got various sounds of clerics and fighters and dwarf and druids and all sorts of things. Like this is a good one.
You'll pay for that!
Right? Like it just
Yeah.
offers somebody who wants to add something like that at their table an opportunity to do so. Right? Phrases are a lot of fun to add in.
It is. It's especially for those people who want to give their character a personality, but they might be shy. I think this is perfect for that player too.
Yeah, the reason I called it MySoundDelve, not just SoundDelve, is because it's a premium feature, but you can record your own voice. So here's me doing Strahd's laugh. Now, that's a little goofier than I like to be at the table. I mean, maybe after a few beers, I could get a little goofier, but but the benefit of having to record your own sound in the app is it allows somebody, game master, whatever, to do their prep and save them, and it's unlimited, right? You basically record it, name it, and then put it in the right classification in the right gallery. So is it because I could do like a right, and I could there's my action, okay. So you can make your own, and then there's unlimited import options, so you can import your own. And before we started the recording, I had shared with you, right? So the Doctor Who Daleks, exterminate.
Yeah.
I have that, imported, and I could use it at my table. I can't use it in a podcast. I can't use it in a VOD. I can't put it on Twitch, right? Whatever, because of copyright.
Legals. Yeah.
But yeah, at the table, it's so much fun to do that. So anyway, as soon as you look at your character sheet and you start look at our sounds and you match the two together and you start making some scenarios, which is how you house all that stuff together, suddenly it becomes a unique tool for you, Zach, or for me, Christian, right? And so it's my SoundDelve. It's not your SoundDelve. That's how I kind of came to that name. I also wanted something that wasn't already out there in the internet sphere.
100%. You got to get that ESO up. The ISO. Whoops. My bad. ESO's Elder Scrolls. Oh, I've been playing too much. So was that feature, though, something that was really important for you to bring in, though? Because that's one of my favorite things. Like, when I saw that, that's honestly probably why I'm going to dive into this thing. But, like, was that important to make sure that you could do that, to bring your...
I love this question because early on, I recently gave an interview where I kind of walked through the app development process more, but I'll give some highlights of that. So my inception initially was, I want two apps. I want SoundDelve, which is mine, and then I want MySoundDelve, which is yours. So the MySoundDelve part was going to be the sound recording, it was going to be the import, and then a sister app that would talk to was going to be SoundDelve, and that was going to be like all the sounds that I make. So it was very like separate. But as I talked with the developer that I chose, Cadabrasoft, early on they're like, these are both really good ideas, but it makes better sense to merge them and just put them into one app. And I was like, oh, and that's why it's so good to talk things through and just leave yourself somewhat open for new ideas because, as smart as we are, we don't know everything. So,
No.
yes, from the inception, though, to answer your question, it was always part of my initial vision was to have the ability for somebody to bring their own sounds in, because there's a lot of great sounds out there. And I'm actually starting to talk with some Kickstarters about having them make sounds unique to their world, building their space, things that are unique to the magic items, NPCs, etc., and then just doing like a 99-cent in-app purchase. Because I've got the interface, but so even if somebody's like you who has the free version, they could still do just a one-app purchase and have access to all of that content that Kickstarter had put out. So I'm trying to leverage, right? Okay, so the interface is built. What else can we do with it outside of just me, right? Because it's independent. Yeah. I'm totally open to collaborative ideas.
I love that. It's great. It is really great. And you mentioned that interface, actually. That is arguably one of the most user-friendly interfaces I have seen for a sound app. No, it is. I'm terrible with navigating menus. I really am, and I can find exactly what I want when I want it. And I love that. So how'd you go about building that
Zach,
interface?
That's great. No, I'm serious. That really is very sweet, because that's one of the biggest complaints I get is, oh my God, there's so much sound in here. I can't get to what I need as fast as I need to get to it. So our next big development project on the docket is to make the sound galleries more searchable, like easier to search, to navigate. Okay.
You can simplify it. Wow.
Yeah. So I came to Cadaversoft with a PowerPoint that I used as a wireframe. Okay. And it was of the scenario screen. So for the listeners who haven't seen the app yet, MySoundDelve, it's broken into a spot on the top for info. So that's what you name it. Mm-hmm. You could put your own icon in. So it's very helpful to see that this is this type of spell, or this is an axe, or whatever. And so it acts as your photo gallery. So you go out and grab whatever photo you want for that. And then the next section is sounds. Right, your action, your success, your failure. The next one is action, which is your die system.
Yeah.
What we wanted to do, and I can't speak specifically, but I started doing research on the number of TTRPG games that were out there, and I stopped at like 550. I'm like, okay.
Oh, there's so many.
I've got enough sample size here, and a lot of them are D20, right? A lot of them are D20 systems. Some are diceless. Some are like 3D6s. There's a lot of different varieties. I even met Clint and Jody Black from Savage Worlds at a convention last year, and they showed me that an app that somebody had built for them, they've got exploding dice. So if you roll a 6, boom, suddenly you can roll another one. Ooh, we don't support that particular die roll. However, I did talk with them. I said, let me build up my base, and then maybe we can have, right, an option, right, for that built, in-app purchase, 99 cents, right, whatever, for that die roll option. But then the next one is the results. And this is one of my personal favorite features. So that's where you put in what is your damage for your attack.
Yeah, I love it.
And then the very, very bottom, it is what I refer to as the swift roll bar. And that is where you press, like you roll a physical die, you determine was it successful, a failure, whatever, and then you play the appropriate sound. Okay? And
all right. So like if I wanted to cast a spell, what exactly would go into that then? If I'm like, it's like, say like I'm rolling my spell and I want to hear it. Can you maybe give me an example of how that works?
Absolutely. So it's going to depend on the type of spell. All right.
Okay.
So for like healing, you're not really rolling a die. No. Okay. So there's a couple ways you could access that sound. You could literally go into the divine, click on success.
Yes.
Type in heal, or use the little microphone button on the bottom and speak into the phone. heal, and all the spells that are healing spells will come up.
Okay.
And then you can just play it, or you can create an icon. What I like to do is I like to group my sounds. So as a game master, I've got this campaign.
Yeah.
So I'll make 2 sounds for the campaign, 2 monster sounds or whatever for encounters or an NPC, and then I will group them, and I'll put one under the other one, and then I'll go into that again, and now I've made a group, and so I can keep doing that. So I actually have I've got 2 missions, mission 1 and mission 2 for Starfinder, and underneath them are all the monsters for mission 1, all the monsters for mission 2, and even some of the PC stuff that folks would do who were having some issues with their phone. I got somebody who's got Galaxy, and for whatever reason he can't get into Google Play, so I have to play his sounds. It's totally weird, but part of it's also he doesn't have enough space on his phone. But anyway,
that's probably part of it.
Yeah, because all these sounds are stored locally. So this app totally functions in airplane mode, which is what I like to play in. So I'm not distracted with any text messaging or anything. When I'm gaming, man, I am gaming. So anyway, but if you're making a scenario, you're going to put your action sound as the verbal component. And when you go into any of the spell areas, either all spells or arcane, divine, druid, there's action and then there's success. So the action is the verbal component. So that will be this. All right.
Nakin thal aliasmus yakam.
So that is Divine Evocation 2. I brought up the Searing Light, and this one is normal. And so, like I said earlier, your spell will depend on whether or not, like it's a healing spell, where there's no die rolled, or if there's a success for die roll, you could put that in here in your app, or and if it does damage, you put your damage in. So I'm going to roll Searing Light, and this is normal.
Nakin thal aliasmus yakam.
So now that's successful, and it did 3d8 for 11 points of damage. It told me immediately. Boom. It's one of the things I absolutely love about the app is I'm no longer waiting for my players to roll damage dice. Because that takes a long time. We're level 12. We're level 12, right? We're not like level 2 where you've got one die you're rolling. I mean, you're rolling a lot of dice, right? But let's say
that's a lot of fireballs.
It's a lot of fireballs, yeah. So let's say that it was a failure. So it will be very certainly be the same action, but then a different sound.
Nakin thal aliasmus yakam.
Simple, easy, and then the interface says fail. Okay, but the original element was we didn't have the Swift roll bar. That was an add-on from. And I'm going to call out 2 folks that they're attached to my old gaming group, 2 15-year-old boys. They're dice goblins.
Oh, yeah, okay? I understand that.
And they did not want to use. So let's say 18 was the success for this one. You know what? Let me hear it. Let's hear another one. So here's Searing Light for Undead. Okay, let's say the armor class of the skeletons is 18. I type in 18 for number needed, and then I hit roll.
Nakin thal aliasmus yakam.
Nope. Failed. There we go. Now,
just
the
like
different, the reason I did that, now that was 7d6.
Oh.
And the reason,
wow.
And so, right. That was a bad fail. So, under Searing Light, for one of my clerics, I've got Construct, Normal, Sensitive, and Undead. Okay. But it's all under one icon, and they're all slightly different. So if you hold down your icon, if you make a sound, menu will pop up, and you can duplicate it. And so you just make another change, and boom, now you've got 2 sounds. So I wanted the interface to not be like super cumbersome, but on the other hand, I also didn't want it to be Somebody asked me recently, well, I play a druid. Can I go into your app and select druid and have all the druid stuff for me? And I'm like, no, I'm not spoon
Yeah.
feeding people, right? I've got an
Yeah.
interface, but I really want it to be like, I don't know what your druid sounds like. Are you a male druid? Are you a
Exactly.
female druid? Like, what level are you? Do you shapeshift? Do you not? Like all these things. So it's so unique to the person that but that's also, Zach, one of the challenges is to make it
Yeah.
as open sandbox as possible. So I mentioned Starfinder. I play that. I play Pathfinder and D&D.
Yeah.
I bought the Cthulhu book. Haven't yet
Oh, I love
cracked
it.
into it, but
It's
I'm
so
I'm
much
working
fun.
I'm working on aberration sounds. Maybe we should get together sometime and play it,
Oh,
because
please.
I would love to make some sounds that are compatible to that.
Oh, I would love that. You're hitting a spot that I want hit. That sounded bad.
Right, right. No, that's the G spot. It's the good spot. It's the good spot, right? Awesome.
Oh no, that's great.
But I mean,
Yeah.
I do have guns in there, so I looked at the Cthulhu equipment section, right?
Yeah.
So just to make sure that I had stuff that were in there. So my God, if I put in on range weapons and I type in GUN and I hit search, I've got horseback, I've got acid pistols, I got AK-47, cold rifle, electronic pistol, musket, heavy machine guns, lasers. Like here's a laser. Yeah. I've got a molecular chaos rifle. What does that sound like?
What does that?
Yeah.
Apparently, that's
Well,
what that sounds like.
but here's the huge differentiator. If you're going into the app and you're literally going through and you're scrolling and you're searching, you're going to see that these sounds are in pieces, and it doesn't sound exactly right. But that's because you need to put them into a scenario. Right?
Yeah, can you explain the scenarios then?
Yeah. So when I make sounds, right? So what's out in the marketplace today? Now I say this on June 17th, 2021. Watch all
Yep.
these copycats show up, because I just saw that Wizards of the Coast is doing, virtual tabletop. They'd be like, oh, I heard there's this really cool idea out there. Yeah. So anyway, I make sounds and I make them in basically 3 pieces. There's an action with a success, but it's split. So it's an action. So it's somebody coming up to something, or it's a spell being created, through the verbal componency. And then that's it for the action sound. Okay. And then I'll make what is the result sound. So last night, because for August I'm doing aberrations. So last night I was working on Chull, the Chull. So the Chull is basically a very large insectoid type creature. So they don't sound like a giant boom, boom, boom. They're a little bit more clickety-clack, right, on the floor. They've got pincers, that they can click, clack, click, clack. They've got tentacles. So the sound I wanted to incorporate, and then of course they've got a vocal, because I really like to have some kind of unique sound for the gurgling of some, some kind of emotion to it.
Yeah.
So you bake all that stuff into making a piece of it, and I don't often will have it as part of the action and the result. So if I've got like a maybe you'll hear a disappointing like for a miss or whatever, but basically I piece them together, or I make them separately so that they can be pieced together through the scenario creation. I know it sounds super complicated, but once you're in the app, you know that it's not.
It's very simple once you're actually building it. I can attest for that.
Awesome. Yeah, we put 4 scenarios in there to kind of reverse engineer. And I will say that, if you've got any decision that needs to be made with a die roll, you're going to need to put at least a 1d2, like a flip of the coin. Yep. It's a trick. It just has to do with how the engineers built it. I'm not
Yep.
an engineer. This is my idea. I outsourced it. I love working with those guys. I'm not throwing them under the
Of course.
bus. But
No.
that's a trick. So, like in the cure spell that's in there, there's a 1d2. So somebody be like, what the hell is a 1d2? It's a coin. Well, it's so that you can actually hit success on the roll bar.
Fakalago fendal natoto hanihuru.
Yeah. And that's it. Boom.
I
Okay.
love
Just
that.
healed. Zach, I just healed you for 3 points. Okay, bud?
All right, I'm feeling better. So, what goes into choosing how you make your audio then? Like you've explained how you build
Sure.
the sound, but how do you make the audio?
I love that question. So I use a couple sound houses. I use
Okay.
Boom Library and Artlist.io.
Okay.
One out of Germany, one out of Israel. And
Oh.
I purchased the license.
Okay.
So let me phrase that for anybody who's interested in sound. So there's a lot of different types of licenses that are out there. Not all are applicable for commercial use. So you will notice that in the app, I'm not selling my sounds.
No.
I'm selling the features in the app, and the sounds come with it. So I don't have a fighter sound pack. Okay, I'm not. Most of the sounds, I can't say that all, but most of the sounds I'm not making in their raw form and then layering and creating new sounds. I'm actually licensing the raw and then repackaging them, making them the sound. So I was just mentioning this to a friend. I didn't use it for the cloaker. I did the cloaker this week because I said I'm working on aberrations, but it was for flying
Yeah.
demon. So it's a small
Okay.
flying demon, and the sound of the wings flapping is actually the sound of somebody shaking out a barbecue grill cover.
Oh, okay.
Right?
That's cool.
Yeah. So because to my knowledge, there are no small demons out there for us to record. So you make these different right. So you make these different raw things, you pull them in, and so I'm able to pull down with Artlist up to 100 sound effects a day
Oh,
for
okay.
an annual license, and it's nice. It's nice. So, but I will say that when you bring them in, so I download them, and I've
Yeah.
got a license for every single sound. So I store all my licenses, and then I will put a keyword in front of. So when I first started, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. So it was total scattershot. And this was last November we launched. So this was
Yeah.
last fall. I'm just collecting all the stuff, and just really trying to put it together, doing all the sound editing for all the voice actors that we had hired. And then I went back and re-engineered a bunch in over Christmas break. Then I became a lot more intentional. Then I became I was more comfortable with Audacity, which is how I use it. So I've got folders for my main sound catalog, and then I have folders for medieval, monsters, close combat, and then premium. And so
Okay.
I've got subfolders in premium. So I've got an Android folder for 1 and 2. So this month was Android, next month is Android 2.0. Then we're going into August, which will be aberrations. Then pirates for September. Then some disability sounds. So I've got some wheelchair sounds. I've got some flying carpets. I'll have some other gate issued sounds.
Okay.
So because I've got all these footsteps in there, but
Yeah.
none with any kind of ambulatory challenge, and
No.
so why not? Why not? Because I've got access to that kind of stuff. So I'm
Exactly.
going to have that in there, and then horror at the end of October, which brings me into November, December, which I don't yet have a theme.
But that's still that's a big roadmap. And one thing that I've noticed just from updates and stuff is that this is a very well supported application. It's incredibly well supported. And just with me editing this podcast, and yeah, there's a little bit of editing that goes into it. Sorry to pull back the curtain. But that's a lot of work. That's a lot of work. So you're doing a lot of stuff for this, and that's so cool.
I appreciate that. I have, like every creator that's listening,
Hmm.
everybody that has been creative in their past, there is this thing called the muse, right? There is
Yes.
that creative spark. And I will say that the Twitter TTRPG community has been very helpful to me for various inspirations. I will make one. So some ideas come to me from them, and I'll make a quick audio response,
Okay.
and I'll use my app. I'll make a response. I'll cut their picture out of the Twitter. I'll put it in and I'll make a quick scenario for them, and I'll spam them with it. I'm like, I love your weapon, or I love that spell, and boom, and here it is. Or somebody's like, oh, I'm having such a terrible day, right? I've made aid spells and bless spells, heroism spells, right? Hey, feel better. Here's an audio response. And I don't know, it's just me being goofy and fun,
Yeah, but
and but that's the kind of thing that sounds should enrich our lives, and I wanted an extra dimensional element to my tabletop play. So I don't play
yeah,
virtually. Okay, the most virtual I get is like through some Discord or Zoom or like a
yeah,
Hangout or whatever. And so even right now, you and me, I've got a Bluetooth speaker paired to my phone and an external mic, and I've got
yeah.
monitors on my ears and a laptop and the phone. And so I've got all that now. All I have to do is bring in my terrain because I have made terrain in my past. I try
Yep.
to stick to still do it, but
Hmm.
I can't until I make more sounds because that's kind of my night job these days. But I grab all my figurines. I've got a big figurine collection, and I'll use the webcam, and the people that are zooming in will move that becomes the battle map, right? So we do theater of the mind until we reach like a pinnacle point, and then I set up the terrain. Okay, where are you going to move to? Where are you going to do whatever, whatever. And
Yeah,
what's super fun is everybody in my play group, because they're a test group, they didn't really have a
yeah.
choice, uses our app. So Zach, I would know whether you had a success or failed result based on what we hear. I don't have to see your dice. It's really kind of cool.
And that's part of the joy of this is this app does a lot. And I'm glad you hit on you and the socials because before I bring anybody on, I make sure to look into their socials and I want to see how they're doing and I kind of want to know who I'm talking to before I start talking to them. And you have this incredibly uplifting presence and people they resonate really well with you and there's a lot of love for the people who are already using MySoundDelve. I mean, it's reviewed well first of all, and how's that felt? How's the reception to that been for you, Christian, the person?
I am humbled on one hand because I've taken a 10-year-old idea and brought it to life, right?
Yeah.
So it is humbling in that respect, and it's exciting that this is out there. But I will say that I completely missed the mark and totally inadvertently lied to my wife about the adoption rate. I thought for sure more people would love to have sound at their table. Now, I will say, here's the big but, the big caveat. All
Hmm.
of this stuff was conceived of, built prior to all of the heavy lockdowns pre-COVID, and we
Yes.
were all forced into stay in our domiciles, and the alternative was some VTTs or some streaming options with people from afar. People are
Yeah.
starting to come out. People are returning to their basements with friends. They're going to hotels. They're playing. There's even pubs opening up with this kind of thing, and that's awesome. I'm so thrilled because our app thrives in that environment.
Yes, it
Second
does.
best is a stream like we're doing today.
Hmm.
Third is going to be if you are playing some kind of VTT, and you've got a speaker or whatever. Okay, so you roll on the VTT, you see that it was successful, right? And then here was my I'm playing Starfighter. Oh, yep, good success. Okay, here's my spaceship sound.
It's one of my favorite sounds.
There we go. That was a plasma torpedo for 19 points of damage to the hull. Oh, shield.
I love the sci-fi sounds of this too. It's just got so much character to it.
Yeah. Well, my play group, we've played Starfinder now for 2 years. Actually, this summer's going on the 3rd year of play. Our third anniversary. So 2 full years. And we're actually reading 5e over the summer, and we're going to start with a 5e campaign in the fall.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, because I'm old school, and you could probably tell when you look at the spells and all that kind of stuff, but I'll say, circling back to my copyright and licensing stuff, the open gaming license is almost everything in 3.5. Almost. I mean, It's like 80% of the stuff that's there is free to call it the same thing, right?
Yes.
There's stuff in Starfinder. I don't know. Do you play Starfinder, Zach?
I own all of it. Unfortunately, and not to call them out, my group is they love 5e.
Okay.
And it's been very difficult to get them to try other things. However, we've recently gotten to some other stuff and they seem to enjoy it. So we're going to finish up our 5e campaign, and then we're going to have some talks.
Well, there are a lot of science fiction 5e coming out. So one of the things that I struggled with, and I still do today, with Starfinder is they nerfed a lot of the magic.
Yes.
So there's less spells to cast, but you have to keep in mind what they infused the system with was hybrid items and technological items.
Yes.
So instead of a web spell, you've got a web grenade. So there's some swapping that go along with that. So I've had to get creative because the things that are on everything in Starfinder, I shouldn't say everything, a lot of it that is uniquely Starfinder, not borrowed up from Pathfinder, like dismissal spell or whatever, like Mind Thrust. Mind Thrust, for instance, is a spell that I love. It levels up with you, and it's basically a psychological spell. Okay, and it does damage to the brain. So I made some my own. I call a cerebral delve, and then I also have mental blitzkrieg. So let me just play one of those for you. And again, I explain our app to many people as like, it's a delicious sauce for your table.
Exactly.
It's not the meal. It's not the meal itself. It's the sauce that enhances the meal. So I think the adoption rate that I thought I was going to see has been held back artificial or temporarily by a multitude of factors. One, the presence of the lockdown, right, and people seeking
100%.
virtual play.
Yeah.
But I'll also say that I'm drowned out by so much creative work that's out there. It's like, oh, look at my shit. No, look at my shit. No, look at my shit. Oh, no, look at my shit. And it's this back and forth of creators just like saying, look at my stuff. And, I try to take the time. I appreciate you saying that I come across as a kind presence, right? I try. That's intentional. And I try very, very hard not to spam, but I am so in love with my baby. I want everybody to see how cute it is, but yet I have to hold myself back to work in progress Wednesdays, self-promotion Saturdays. But and the other thing that that challenges me. See, when I was painting my terrain, I could listen to a podcast.
Yes.
Okay, and it was great. Like you mentioned, traveling. So when I am back on the road, and we just had a town hall meeting with my company today, and they're making decisions for they're opening our offices. I'm virtual anyway, but our main
Okay.
headquarters in
Yeah.
Chicago. They're opening that space in September. But the space is going to be
Okay.
different. It's going to be more group oriented. So it's going to be bigger conference rooms. It's not going to be cubicles the way it was before. You can assign a cubicle, but regardless, I'm excited to travel again because then I could listen to a podcast. But when I'm doing sound, I can't listen to anything else.
No.
That's a real downer
Yep.
of my particular piece of creation. Requires my concentration to piece these things together because I like even an action, which is part of a story. It's part of a sound. I like them all to tell a story. I look at the scenario as a paragraph and each of my components as like a sentence within that to the overall story, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So we're actually starting to run a little bit low on time there, Christian.
That's cool.
So something that I always really want to stress on Schedule for Launch, right down to the title, is that it's like a big step of this was that people have had time to develop things, and your thing, even if it's just for you, deserves some attention. You should take care of those ideas before you lose that time. So what advice can you give someone who wants to start building their own project?
If it's an app project, I will say focus on one operating system versus two because you'll double all your costs. That is like the number one thing. I would also say keep your features and functions to the minimum viable product as long as possible. Try to build your community and your consensus around those few things. And then as you start to get more people interested, add more of those other features and functions that you wanted to do. So when you look at a well-baked app today, like even like Facebook or Uber or whatever, I read that if Uber was to launch what they have today, it would cost $500,000 the way it is today. But because they built what they did over time, it didn't cost that much. And they were able to receive some revenues to offset that future development. So those would be my two hugest pieces of advice that I did not heed. I plowed ahead with both of them. And I have too many features and functions because I'm so excited about this and I want to give I give a lot away for free, right? I'm wondering, but I'm also because we don't do any ad revenue.
No, there's no ad revenue.
You don't have to watch a 30-second video before you access the sounds. I mean, you can go right into it immediately. However, I want to take some real estate on the free version, and I've already started doing that. You probably saw the Nat 30s on there.
Yeah.
So other podcasts or Twitch streams or whatever that want to use our sounds, all I ask for is you to put us in your show notes, right? Promote us in some way, and I will cross-promote you on our free version.
Yeah.
No money, no contract, total straight up just cross-promotion.
Yep.
Easy, simple.
It's like a handshake.
Right. We don't have enough of those.
No. Especially right now. I miss people.
I know. I was telling my team, I said, your virtual hugs aren't cutting it anymore.
Oh, well, it's been so much fun. Thank you so much. Christian, where can people find you?
MySoundDelve is my handle on Twitter, Insta, Facebook, and our website. It is, it's unique to us, and check us out. I take suggestions for, hey, I play this particular game and I went through your sound gallery and I don't see a sound for whatever. So I'm always up for inspiration. I'm always up for creating some new themes. And MySoundDelve is what I go by, and I appreciate your time that you've given me, Zach, very, very much.
Oh, thank you for coming on, and everybody, as always, those websites, those socials, they're all going to be in the links below. Christian, it's been great. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, listeners, I hope you come down to QSCon in November.
We'll see how the borders are.
I know. If the border opens, come on down. You're not that far away. It would be great to have you.
No, I'm really not. It would be great. Oh, thank you so much,
listeners. A live session there. It'd be great.
Oh, that'd be fun. That'd be really fun, actually. Thank you so much again, though. And thank you, listeners, for joining us. It's been a blast. Take care of yourselves and have a great night. Bye.
Good night.
Thank you so much to Christian for coming onto the podcast this week. It was a great time talking with you, and this app is just a lot of fun. I'm enjoying just messing around with it. And those of you out there who have both an Android or an iOS, you can go and get it for free and try out that version on your version of the Play Store or the App Store. So there's really nothing stopping you from going and doing that. And I wanted to say thank you to you, the listener, really heavily this week, because now that June's coming to a close, we're going to be going back to the every other week format, because I'm now in a very cool project. You may remember Trevor from the Veil of the Void episode way back when the show started. Well, I'm going to be joining him on the Veil of the Void Twitch stream Tuesday nights at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, where I'm going to be playing Array in an upcoming stream and podcast. So I hope to see you all there so I can introduce you to the rest of the cast. Take care. Have a good night. See you later.